Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Now to the big story from the United States. One of the National Guard members targeted by the gunman has died. US President Donald Trump said in his first live remarks since the shooting, while the other Guard member remains in critical condition. Soon after Trump took to Truth Social to announce a new immigration stance, he said he would permanently pause migration from all third world countries to give the US system time to recover. He also said that the US will aim to end federal benefits for non-citizens and significantly reduce what he referred to as illegal and disruptive populations. This followed reports that the suspected shooter is an Afghan national who came to the US under temporary immigration status during the Biden administration and was later granted asylum. In response, US immigration authorities have suspended all immigration processing for Afghan nationals pending a full review of vetting protocols. Additionally, the administration has ordered a re-examination of all green cards issued to immigrants from countries of concern. Meanwhile, US missions around the world are awaiting guidance from the White House and the US Department of State before implementing any changes. And it is believed it may take a few days before new instructions are issued. At present, routine visa services appear to be operating normally. In today's discussion, we'll explore what these developments could mean for India, especially since the number of Indian nationals apprehended while trying to enter the US illegally has hit a 4-year low. And also in 2025, the US reportedly deported over 2,700 Indian citizens. Listen in.
Suspect is an Afghan national flown here by the previous administration, who was such a bad administration. And I have a picture of a plane. This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember that period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. We have no greater national security priority than ensuring that we have full control over the people that enter and remain in our country. For the most part, we don't want them.
And joining us now to take this discussion forward is Ambassador K.C. Singh, former diplomat and strategic affairs expert, and Naveen Chopra, chairman with NN Chopra Consultants. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Ambassador K.C. Singh, let me go across to you first. Could you give us a sense of how this is going to be accepted by countries around the world? Now, this is a very sweeping remark that President Trump has made, that he's going to pause migration from all third world countries. How is he going to do that, and what will be the impact?
With President Trump, I don't think he cares what other countries are thinking about his policy announcements. We've seen it with the tariffs, completely without any basis, rationale. They kept going up and down depending on whether he likes a country, doesn't like it. So this announcement, everyone will sit back and wait. With Trump, you don't know tomorrow morning. He may moderate it. He may worsen it. We don't know that, because he's actually picked on the wrong case. The Afghan who's done the shooting was a US collaborator in Afghanistan. He was working for CIA. And there was a danger that he might be repatriated. If he was sent back to Afghanistan, having been a collaborator, he'll be probably killed by the Taliban. So he's choosing between jail in America to death in Afghanistan. Now, instead of singling the case out and saying, let's not send people back to dangerous places, he's stepped down on the gas because his own rating is down, his popularity is down. A number of midterm elections have shown that the mood has turned in the country and the economy is not doing too well for all his protestations. So he's picked on one issue on which he's been rating reasonably high, which is immigration, which also, because of the way the ICE agents have been going after people. The other day, they picked on a relative of his own White House spokesperson. Now, if that, to distract from that, he's gone on to this. I think it's more for domestic political reasons than for any impact, because in fact, what has come out is that jobs have not increased in America over the last 9 or 10 months of his presidency, because immigrants going out is not helping Americans get jobs. It's just slowing the economy down. And then Trump himself a few days ago said that H-1B visa is fine, even though his base were unhappy. He realized that without those educated workers and skilled workers coming in, US economy will be impacted. So we really don't know what he means. Is it only for domestic consumption? By third world countries, is he only going to pick on countries which are seen as having terrorism or being anti-US or having regimes which are anti-US, Iran, Afghanistan, etc., or it's across the board? We don't know. I doubt it. I don't
Right.
think he can do something across the board. Yeah.
Ambassador Casey saying whatever the outcome may be, and this and understanding that we've got after speaking to multiple sources, that it will take some time for a guidance to flow from the White House to US missions around the world. No one really understands at the moment what his tweet or Truth Social post means. But just the sentiment, just the optics of it, do you think this is going to push the emerging countries further away from the United States?
Further away from President Trump. I don't think they'll be pushed away from the United States. They're all waiting for the midterms, another about 13 months. And they think if the Congress transfers from the Republicans to Democrats, or may even happen before that, because there is one Republican member who's resigning. There's another race which is very close. So things are not looking very good. I think other countries are watching. They've got used to it over the last 10, 11 months. If you don't react immediately, this is Trump. He will just come out with a sword and go waving it around. Don't get in his way. But in the meanwhile, just wait and see when he gets tired and sits down.
All right, let me go across to Naveen Chopra. Mr. Chopra, what's your sense of things right now? We have seen, ever since the Trump administration came to power for a second time, we've seen curbs on legal forms of migration, the scrutiny of applications going up. Now, in the run-up to this announcement that he has made on Truth Social and Twitter, have visa processing started slowing down for all categories? Are some of the people that you deal with, do you see people having issues getting their visas or going through visa formalities at US embassies?
Trump has, in his first term as well as in his second term, and second term probably magnified it, been playing emotional cards, essentially aimed at the base that he has, which largely consists of Anglo-Saxon whites who are essentially, the large proportion of them are school pass-outs or school or 10th class pass-outs. His support amongst the college educated did rise in this last election, but that is also not the larger chunk. And in terms of most of the policy announcements that he's done, it is done from that perspective. I get an impression, and I would say without prejudice, I get an impression that if you look at the history of Trump and his growth and the way that he has treated his own people in his businesses and stuff, that he essentially has a racist mindset where non-white-skinned people are anathema. Although he has employed a lot of them, he is using a lot of them. But that's also from the realization or stemming from the realization that skin pigment doesn't equate brain power, and the brain power right now is residing amongst a large proportion of it resides amongst the Indians and the Chinese and the Asians, because our guys, from an education perspective, education is very core and central to every parent. Children are motivated and pushed to get themselves educated. They work hard. They get themselves educated, which is the consequence of which they are in every aspect of American life, from NASA to Microsoft to Google to the government to doctors, professors, and so on and so on. Now, these people become successful. They earn good money. They're also good business people. There are lots of very, very successful Indian businesses in the United States. And they are the ones who are driving the fancy cars. They are the ones who are having fancy houses and moving into high-end suburbs. And this is causing, particularly amongst the base. Now, as far as the visa story is concerned, yes, it has impacted. Yes, there is. I would not call it a loss of interest. I would call it a slowing down out of apprehension for what is actually to maintain them. But I'll tell you, I kid you not, that the American dream is still the big one. Okay, even now, anybody who's going to be able to get into the United States is going to get into the United States. Because even now, Trump withstanding the amount of opportunity that
Mr.
exists
Chopra.
in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chopra, you're saying that the American dream is still intact for many people all across the world. Having said that, among the people, the clientele you deal with, are people wanting to go to Canada or United Kingdom or Europe for that matter, considering the kind of changes, the volatility that we're seeing in the United States?
Yes, there is a shift also towards United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Europe. European countries are coming into focus. Germany is very, very big right now. But when it comes to the United States, the elite or the wealthy individuals increasingly larger numbers, and this is very quiet. I can't give you any data, but larger numbers are going in for the EB-5 route, where they invest into the United States and they get a family, a green card pretty much straight away, and that route is still being open. They have not shut that route down. I think there's a lot of optics going on out here, and I also, from experience, 30 years of experience in the global education student mobility market, I have seen multiple cycles of countries clamping down on because of this local, Anglo-Saxon, primarily the Anglo-Saxon sentiment, and then having to open up because there's not enough people to do the essential jobs. This has happened 3 or 4 times with Australia. It has happened 2, 3 times with the UK. It has happened now big time in Canada. And of course the United States is the first cycle. So it's cyclical, and you are absolutely right. My colleague on the show was making this observation that waiting for the midterms. Yeah, I mean there seems to be some churn happening, and the midterm could spring surprises. But having said spring surprises, you need to consider both sides of the equation. If Trump gets a majority in both houses, he'll change the constitution.
That's true. My final question to Ambassador K.C. Singh. Ambassador K.C. Singh, how should India navigate these challenges? We're still not there when it comes to the trade deal or an agreement to set aside the tariffs, the high 50% tariffs. What should we do? How should we speak to the Trump administration? We're already doing that relentlessly.
Look, unstated, when we do the trade deals, unstated is always the issue of migration. When we're doing it with Europeans, we're taking it up. With England, we took it. UK, we took it up. We say this is like trade. It's not just goods, services, goods, and then people migration. That's all part of a larger, complex arrangement. And you can't say, no, I will not take your people. I'll just take your goods, or I'll use the services. So this would be very much there even with the Americans. So it's a bit of a setback because you can't see doing a trade deal with America if they clamp down on visas, and even legitimately, people who are legitimately wanting to go to America, you block it. It's not going to be helpful. But the Indian government, I think they will do what they've been doing for the last 6-8 months, which is at the political level, you remain quiet. You will have your spokesman just say, we are unhappy with this or regret it, or we hope they change it. They'll watch for a few days, and then after that, we'll have some kind of a statement. But behind the scenes, I'm sure Mr. Goyal will have to take it up and say, we can't have a trade deal if we're going to be behaving like this, because this is part of the deal. Movement of people is part of what we negotiate.
May I say something?
My final answer. Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Chopra.
Well, I mean, I think that, Trump is a slightly simplistic mind to my way of thinking. I think he should be told that, look, we have 1.4 billion Indians and one soap a month equates to 1.4 billion soaps. Now, do you want access to this market or not? I think, we should play tough with it. And we should buckle down. We are largely an inward-looking economy. We are, that's why we didn't suffer too much from the global shock. I don't think that we should be scared. I think we should buckle down. We should look for other markets aggressively. I know this, that if you let the Indian businessman loose, remove the constraints on the Indian business community, they will go and win the world for you. If they are not doing it, it's because of the internal constraints that are placed through all the kinds of rules, regulations, and stop this, can't do that, go here, don't go there.
Right.
You remove those constraints and they'll win the world for you. I absolutely...
the only problem is, Mr. Chopra, you're right, and Ambassador K.C. Singh, both of you have made some very strong points, but clearly the problem also is he's being driven by politics. To what extent Will this continue motivating him? That remains to be seen. But of course, India will have to be ready for all scenarios when it comes to President Trump in the White House. That's all we have time for with Mr. Chopra and Mr. Singh on this segment. We're moving on, but we'll be right back after the break. We will be talking about Russian President Putin's visit to India this December for the annual bilateral summit. And it's very significant in terms of our overall strategic ties, energy ties and defense ties as well. We will be discussing this with Professor Amitabh Singh from JNU and Nikita Mentkovich from Eurasian Analytical to discuss Putin's visit. Welcome back to Global Eye. Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit India from December 4th to December 5th for the annual bilateral summit. The visit, first announced during National Security Advisor Ajit Doval's trip to Moscow in August, has now been formally confirmed by the Ministry of External Affairs. President Draupadi Murmu will host a banquet for Putin. The Russian president will also hold talks with Prime Minister Modi to review bilateral progress. Ahead of the summit, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met Putin in Moscow at the SCO Heads of Government meeting and held talks with his counterpart Sergei Lavrov to finalize preparations. Meanwhile, Putin's aide Nikolai Patrushev met Prime Minister Modi in Delhi to review the summit agenda. This year's summit is significant as it marks the 25th anniversary of the Declaration of Strategic Partnership between Russia and India. This is also Putin's first visit to India since December 2021. The trip comes at a sensitive time, with rising global tensions and US President Donald Trump pressurizing India to scale back ties with Moscow. PM Modi last met President Putin in September on the sidelines of the SCO summit. The two leaders even spent 48 minutes in Putin's limousine before heading to their bilateral venue. PM Modi said India and Russia have always stood shoulder to shoulder, even in the most difficult times. This meeting took place just days after Trump imposed a 25% additional tariff on India's Russian oil purchases. As per data from Kepler, India's Russian oil imports are expected to rise over 1.8 million barrels per day this month, the highest since July. Reports suggest this might be because refiners rushed to stock up ahead of US sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil that took effect on November 21. In FY25, two-way trade touched a record high of $68.7 billion US dollars. India's exports were worth $4.8 billion, while imports from Russia amounted to nearly $64 billion. During the summit, India may push for a follow-on order of S-400 air defense systems. In 2018, India signed a $5.4 billion deal for 5 S-400 batteries, 3 of which have been delivered so far. Russia has promised to deliver the remaining 2 in 2026. The country has reportedly offered India the full production and technology transfer of Su-57 stealth fighters. However, India is yet to make a decision. Joining me now to discuss this further and what this means for India is Amitabh Singh, Associate Professor at JNU, Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, and Nikita Mentkovich, Director, Eurasian Analytical Club. Nikita, if I can ask you first, what will President Putin and Russia be expecting from this visit, which comes under the shadow of US sanctions and immense pressure from the United States to reduce the partnership with Russia?
I think we should forget about United States and those demands. We are two independent states. It is our business how to keep our ties strong and how to cooperate. That's why we should ignore American position. I think during this dialogue, our leaders should discuss economy, defense, and other problems which can be solved by 2 of our countries. In fact, Russia and India are allies. More than 100 of Indian citizens are volunteers fighting in Russian army, liberating Ukraine from fascist regime and American occupation. I think that we should strengthen our ties in economy, up our trade, build new transport ways, and keep our ties stronger. Of course, United States wouldn't like it.
Right.
But United States do not like a lot of things at the world. I think we just should forget about Mr. Trump and what he like or dislike. It is not his business.
All right.
It is our life.
Okay, I'm going to return to you. All right, I'll come back to you shortly. Let me get in Amitabh Singh very quickly. Professor Singh, what do you think India would realistically want to achieve from this visit of President Putin? Very critical. Russia is an age-old, decades-old defense partner. We've got multiple defense, legacy defense equipment for which we need Russian support for maintenance, service and parts. We would want our Sukhois to be upgraded as well. What do you think Prime Minister Modi would want to achieve in terms of continuity?
India has been partners with Russia for long now, and they are the most trusted partners when it comes to our defense hardwares, our defense supplies, and it has gone on for years, not only at the level of defense, but also at the United Nations level in supporting our demands at United Nations, supporting Kashmir issue, and many things like that. This visit will be different. I would say different in the sense that this is happening after 4 years that Putin is coming to India. This is happening when the Russia-Ukraine war is on. This is also happening when likely solution to Russia-Ukraine war is on the table of both Russia and the West. So the expectations of India at this time is many. One of that is the confusion that was caused by the oil supply being stopped because of the sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil. India would like to do away with the confusion that has prevailed, that it was not India, but the sanctions that has been imposed on Indian companies. That has led to a decline in the volumes of oil that we were importing. The second thing is that India would like to strengthen the defense partnership that we already have. Remember that 70% of Indian military hardware is dependent on Russia's supply. So we are also looking, and you rightly said, a follow-up on S-400 missile batteries. Maybe we'll demand or we'll expect Russians to supply us with newer generation S-500 missile batteries. So these are some of the agenda that we have. The major and different agenda this time would be that we are likely to sign labor mobility pact, in which the skilled labor is likely to get more access to Russian markets, because already after COVID and of the Russian-Ukraine war,
that's an important point.
Yeah, that employable people has been dwindling in Russia.
All right, labor mobility agreement between India and Russia would be important. Nikita, when it comes to expanding the partnership beyond energy, beyond defense, what are some of the other areas that President Putin may want to focus on?
I think we have a lot of economy topics to talk about. It is oil, it is gas, it is transportation, it is medicines. It's possible for cooperation between our industry. Of course, I think our leaders should discuss production of Russian weapon for the Indian army. A lot of our machines are effective enough. For example, C-400s were demanded by Indian army to defend national borders. I think there are a lot of other possibilities to dialogue, including space investigation or other possible topics. As I said before, India and Russia are allies, so we have a lot of topics to deal with.
Okay, we've completed our time, but thank you very much, Amitabh Singh and Nikita Menkovich, for joining us on the program. It will be a very crucial visit of President Putin this year, and the United States will be watching it very, very closely. That's all we have time for on Global Eye. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.